Oh, what's going on, y'all? It's your boy 3 Stacks in this thing, representing Team King of Games all day, every day. Today I'm going over an update of my Magical Musketeers. I finally picked up my 3 Caspers. I picked up the Toon Table Contents card that I was missing from the deck for it being complete, so I can showcase it, minus so many proxies. And I also was able to, upgrade quite a few main deck techs and make it a bit more competitive in comparison to the build that I showcased last time. So without further ado, let's hop right into this main deck. So starting off with monsters, we play what I'm so happy to present to you, 3 copies of Casper. This card's amazing. He's basically your Stratos. He allows you to play a lot more on your opponent's turn, which is amazing because you can Desperado, then search off your last stand and last stand, triggering another effect. And don't forget that your opponent can trigger your Musketeers effects as well. So what I like to do is I summon my Musketeers in the Pendulum Zone. Basically, even if your spell or trap zone is not a Pendulum Zone, there's a specific spell or trap zone that can only be used for Pendulum Zone. So for your Pendulum Magician matchup, so long as you keep your Musketeer monster, when you normal summon it in the right or left Pendulum Zone, even if you can't get your spell or trap effects off from your hand, your opponent will have to play their scales for the Pendulum Magician matchup, and in order to play their scales, they have to trigger your Musketeers effects. They have no choice, which is really cool. So that's just food for thought. It's just something to keep in mind that the deck can be a bit more abusive. But yeah, 3 copies of Casper pretty much starts up your engine. And then 3 copies of Kid Brave. I like this guy a lot. He's my second favorite next to Casper. And then my third favorite is actually Wild. Starfire and Calamity are like my last ones. Doc's my least favorite, but he's still pretty dope. Kid Brave just really awesome. He's kind of like a pseudo Pot of Desires, but not as, plus worthy. And then 2 copies of Doc. Doc extends your plays a bit further, especially when you're running low on certain copies of a card. For example, I actually only play, 1 copy of Dancing Needles. Most Magical Musket players don't even play this card. I'll explain it when I get there, but if I resolve this, for example, and I'm progressing to the next turn, I believe I can activate another spell or trap, add this from grave to hand, and then activate it again because it's a 1-up. So certain scenarios like that, when you're like, I activated Pot of Desires, I banished my other 2 Desperados, I can only get Desperado from grave now. Doc's going to help you out with that situation. So there's times when Doc's really good, and then at the same time, there's times when he's kind of bad, where it's like, I don't really have targets, I don't really need this guy right now, but he's still good. And then the 1 Starfire that I have, I would definitely play more Starfires. I'm just missing 2 of her, and that will complete the deck. Then I have 2 copies of Calamity. I'm going to keep this at 2. It's a really, really nice number. I'm comfortable with playing 2 of her. I'm also very, very comfortable with playing 2 copies of Wild. Not only do Magical Musket names actually matter, you have to play a certain number of monsters, because all their spells and traps are dead in your hand if you don't have a Magical Musketeer monster. But also, it matters in grind game scenarios where Wild recycles Wild, and you have a never-ending way to recycle your cards. The first Wild recycles, spells, traps, monsters, whatever. And then the second Wild puts the first Wild back in 2 other targets. So no matter what, you have a Wild that puts a Wild back. It's like Daigusto Emerald. It's a never-ending loop. So no matter what, as long as you play your cards right and manage your resources correctly, you will not run out of anything. You'll be in that position where your opponent has to kill you, or you'll just keep playing, which is really nice. So I like 2 Wilds. Most players just play 1. I prefer 2 personally. And then 1 Yugioh, resolving him is almost like resolving Spellbook of Judgment. He's such a powerful boss. He's definitely worth the 1 slot in my main deck. And then for hand traps, we're playing the obvious best hand trap right now to most people. I really prefer Cypher and Gamma, but 3 Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. The card's just downright absurd. She really doesn't, she doesn't make sense, man. This card's not fair whatsoever. And then 2 Drone Lockbirds and 1 Max T. I literally had space for 6 hand traps. So it's kind of sad that you don't see, ogres and other stuff like that. But I only have room for 6 hand traps, so I was like, let's do 3 Ash, 2 Droll, 1 Maxi. I could have done 2 Ash, 2 Droll, and then 1 ogre and 1 Maxi. And, that still would have been basically 2, 4, 6. But then I was like, nah, it's kind of awkward to just throw in one ogre just because. And cut Ash, she's pretty important. So, yeah, that pretty much sums up the monsters. And then moving forward to the spells, please excuse me, I've been pretty sick. I'm still sick, but not as bad. 3 copies of Ties of the Brethren. I'm really on debate whether I want to play Double Summons and Ties of the Brethren, because both spells, Double Summon and Ties, serve different purposes at different times in the game. This is not very good going second, although it can be good at certain times going second. But for the most part, it's a starter up card. And once you resolve one, you never really get the chance to resolve a second because the game gets so awkward after that. So you play 3 to see the card. And then you also play 3 copies of Cross Domination. This is a card I prefer to open up with, so that way I can use my Casper search to get something else. You want to open up with Cross Domination, Desperado, and Last Stand with Casper. If you can open up with one of each of those in a Casper, you've pretty much got, not game, but you've got a secure game state to where your opponent cannot go off on you, and all you really need to do is just keep getting those pokes for damage to push for game, which is really dope. So I like playing 3 of the most important magical musket cards, so that either A, I don't have to waste a search, B, if I don't have a search, I have them already, and also C, when you're able to resolve these effects under a Casper, you can use him to then search just a different card, for example, like your Fiendish Deal, or, you know, for example, like your Steady Hands. So, like I said, I play 3 of certain ones, so I don't have to waste a search on them, basically in simple, blatant terms. Then 2 Steady Hands, I wouldn't see it as a 3-up, even though it's nice. And it's one of the few magical muskets you can play on your first turn, opening hand, to trigger a musket effect without taking some kind of like a downside. But nonetheless, it is still a 2-of, in my opinion. And then I also play 3 Toon Table of Contents. And the target is my Proxy Toon World. It's really hard to find right now. I just don't know where to look for Toon Worlds. But I'm looking, trust me. Then 2 Pot of Desires to sum with the spells. It's pretty nutty. No, I don't play Upstart. Upstart is a just because card, and I hate just because cards. It would be like Upstart just because it's Upstart. No. But you can resolve Desires under Casper, draw 2 search. You know, Desires under Wild, draw 2, recycle 3 search. Kid Brave, draw 2, draw 2. Get what I'm saying? There's a lot of cool things you can do with Desires. Desires dot, draw 2, add 1. There's a lot of ways you can plus off of Desires with your Musketeers on field. And that's going to sum it up for the spells. The traps is what I'm always hyped about. Because this deck, its traps are like hand traps, dude. Because you play them from the hand, get it? But we have 3 evenly matched, the best hand trap, obviously. The best hand trap, hands down. And then 3 Desperado. It's kind of similar, you know, it's not as much of a blowout, but it can definitely blow your opponent out, most literally. It's just such a great card. And then 3 Last Stand to negate those pesky strikes, those pesky scoldings. You know, if they're like, oh, I'm going to go ahead and like, you know, scolding this, and you're like, oh, I'm going to go ahead and Last Stand that scolding, but I'm pretty sure you're still paying 3,000 life points, though. Most definitely. Last Stand's pretty amazing. 1 Dancing Needles. This is for the Spiral matchup. No Sleeper, no Drone, no Quick Fix, no Target Rescue Mission. You know, the trap. It banishes and then targets. You chain this, banish the targets. And it has no eligible target now because you can't retarget. Like I said, no Sleeper, no Trickstar Reincarnations, no Lily Bell, no Black Fang targets, no ABC, banish all 3, A, B, and C. No Infernoid Decatron, none of that. Like, no Deviati, no Nunchu. You get my drift. I can name Invocation, True Draco Traps, Continuous Spells and Traps. This trap hits so many problems that there's no reason to not play at least one of it. Believe it or not, it'll downright win you games just by itself. And then 1 Fiendish Deal. Why not? It's a great one-of. It really does help you. It protects your monsters, so now it's like, okay, you've got to attack over us. And we're like, I'm going to shrink you down to 0 in the battle phase because I can. And that's going to sum up the main deck. And the extra deck is going to be Firewall, Borload, Decode, Guy Saber, Proxy Dragon, Binary. 6 link monsters because you can. Once you resolve ties and you're playing with cards like Starfire and Calamities, you can easily get 5 monsters on field on your opponent's turn. If you live, you can link summon with everything that's not Starfire and Calamities. And once you link summon, you activate Starfire and Calamities again to bring out 2 more monsters. Then you can link summon like 3 more times. So there are actually ways where you can spam links, like I just explained it. If that was not simple, then I can actually show you perhaps in a video. But yeah, basically, once you resolve ties, like I said, you know, there's ways for you to do it. And yeah, you just keep extending your plays with Starfire and Calamities, and bam, like you've got it. Calamities. Her name is Calamity. And then a full-fledged Utopia package. Why not? Extra deck is so, like, free. You never really go into it because you always want to control muskets. It's either style points, game pushes, or scenarios where it's like, I can't get it without this lightning, or I can't get it without this bore load, or I need decode or I need something, you know. Dweller. Baguska's definitely just like, hey, I can make it. Let's make it. Tornado Dragon, Kirgorgon, because why not? Dracos, Time Pendulum Graph, cards like that. He really hits them. 2 Break Swords, not 1, 2 Break Swords. That's right. There was no other rank 3 that I felt would be better than Break Sword, and then he clears the extra monsters on at the same time. So that sums up my deck profile, you guys. I hope you enjoyed it, found it to be educational and or entertaining. If you did like this video, let me know. If you did not like this video, hey, let me know. Either way, I'm not offended. Regardless, I love you guys. Make good choices. Don't hurt your brain cells. Stay tuned for more content, my dude. I'm woke. I'm staying woke, man. I got like, I don't know how many more deck profiles to do. Pendulum Magicians, Pure Blue Eyes. After I showed the Chaos Max and the Lord of the Red, the Ritual builds, now it's Pure Blue Eyes. True King Yang Zings, Paleozoics, Pure True Dracos, a Herald update to counter, a new Herald variant to counter hand traps. Dude, stay woke. I'm woke. You better stay woke too. All right, I'm going to hop off of this so I can move to the next deck profile. Peace.